everybody. Welcome back to the Film Buds podcast. This is episode number 172. And my name is Henry.
And I'm Paul.
This week, we have another retro review for you. We are going to be reviewing George Romero's Night of the Living Dead from 1968. And then a listener was kind enough to send us a question, so we'll get to that. Other stuff we watched. I mean, enough said, Paul, you know?
Yeah.
So, thanks again for joining us, everybody. Well, Paul, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. Yesterday was a long day. It was a 20-hour day for me. So, yeah. You know, it was all the...
Now, what was the time frame? Like when did you start in the day?
6 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Whew.
Yeah.
Any little breaks? Any little?
Yeah, you know, I had like a dinner break in there. You know, I was trying to take everything that I had handwritten and get it typed, and so for the script that I've been working on, it's pretty much done. I'm, you know, a little disappointed that I didn't make the original deadline, but I pretty much have the whole thing done. So I'll probably wrap it up finally Thursday or Friday.
Nice.
So yeah, I had a dinner break, you know, and I had like little periodic breaks where I would just go and kind of do something else, even if it was just for a few minutes, just because it was, you know, a little brutal sitting there and just transcribing, but also doing some editing and revisions kind of as I was going through it.
Right. How are your fingers?
Honestly, yeah, the hand was a little bit tired, like both, because let's see, yesterday was Monday, day before Sunday. Sunday was when I really pounded out a lot of everything by hand. And so it was like one day of just like constantly writing by hand and then another day of just constantly typing. And so they were a little tired. I ended up plunging them into a cooler of ice for a little while just to get a little bit of a respite.
Sure. Yeah, well, best wishes with that. You know, I'm sure it'll turn out great. So,
yeah, thank you. I'm pretty happy with it, honestly.
Good, man. Good.
How have you been? What's going on?
Not a whole lot this week. Just kind of been working and doing some more physical training for the Air Force, and you know that's been keeping me pretty busy. So yeah, not a whole lot new really or interesting, just kind of a fairly normal week, which is okay.
How long do you usually spend per day on your sort of physical conditioning for the military?
It can kind of vary. I try and do it 4 or 5 times a week. It can stretch anywhere from like an hour to about 3.
Okay.
But for like a day that is like talking about 3 hours, a lot of that could be cardio. So I'm not just like in the gym lifting weights for 3 hours, you know, long or straight.
Yeah.
So it's been, you know, as things have been been ramping up, it's been getting more and more intensive, you know, but it is kind of cool to see the progress that I've made, you know, over time. And, you know, so, you know, it's not easy, but it's not something I dread doing either.
Okay.
You know, so yeah. I don't think there's anything else really to mention. Yeah. Anything for you, Paul? I mean, we got some stuff to talk about, so.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and jump on in.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, let's get into our review of Night of the Living Dead from 1968, and we do have a clip, so take a listen.
Well, you used to really be scared here.
Johnny.
You're still afraid.
Stop it now, I mean it.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it. You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it. You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.
He'll hear you.
Here he comes now. I'm getting out of here.
Johnny.
All right, so Night of the Living Dead. It's on Amazon Prime currently for anybody who may want to watch it. It's directed by George Romero. It stars Dwayne Jones, Judith O'Dea, Carl Hardman, Marilyn Eastman, Keith Wayne, Judith Ridley. That's about it, I think.
Yeah.
The rest are zombie casting, so we don't need to really go through that. And the synopsis is a ragtag group of Pennsylvanians barricade themselves in an old farmhouse to remain safe from a horde of flesh-eating ghouls that are ravaging the east coast of the United States. So, not the worst synopsis.
No, not at all.
Better written than a lot of them.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, you suggested we do this. Would you like to kick things off?
Yeah, sure. So Romero is definitely kind of like an icon for a lot of people. Yeah, he was never someone who really had all of the budget that he wanted, so he always had to be, kind of a filmmaker on a shoestring. And he's also the one that essentially really kicked off the zombie genre as we fully know it now.
Mm-hmm.
There were other zombie films and other sort of zombie stories before this, but there were none that were like this, where it was, the bite and the spread and some of that stuff, where he also really combined a lot of like current topics and current themes and current ideas into what he was making. So I saw Night of the Living Dead in college in my horror class, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was great. It was a little bit schlocky, you could definitely see some of the obvious actors missing punches and things like that. But I thought that it was a really neat film, and I thought that the last few minutes especially are super impactful. And so it was one that stuck with me. And I think that it's a really enjoyable, breakout thing that you can kind of go and see all of the roots of it, sort of spreading everywhere. I went and I picked up the Criterion version.
Nice.
It was on sale. It still is. It's like $23, I think.
All right. It's not too bad.
No, and it uses a 4K restoration that was done for the MoMA. So it's a really beautiful image, especially for a movie that's so old, that was so damaged. And so I really enjoyed it still. I thought that it was a great time. My wife hadn't seen it. She very much enjoyed it. I think that even though Romero wasn't necessarily, according to him, trying to put too much politics in there, I think that he ends up creating this very interesting movie that has enough ambiguity to it that you can read a lot into it. And I think that it's a great little horror film.
Mm. Well, Paul, first of all, they're really spoiling us with that 4K restoration. Criterion, so that's good stuff. Yeah, so I think I saw this in college as well on my own. I was bored one night, and I just rewatched it last night, and I've liked George Romero since I first got into his films around that time, and this one I had kind of forgotten a lot about, and overall I enjoy it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Romero film, nor would it be one of my favorite zombie films, as it might be for some.
Mm-hmm.
I love how it's shot. It's shot in black and white. It came out in the 60s. It didn't have to be black and white, but I think the cinematography, it makes it feel like it came out or it was made in the 20s or 30s in a really cool way and in an authentic way. And I think it really helped to popularize the zombie apocalypse concept or archetype in a lot of ways. And you can kind of see how it's influenced many since.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of that I really liked. I liked its simplicity, and I liked its almost procedural aspect of boarding up the house and, strategizing, all that stuff I liked. I think even so, my main issues with the movie, and I think it's partly because of the time it came out, I think that the leading lady, that the character is a bit tiresome. It's for the first half, she's hysterical. She's screaming all the time. And then in the second half, she becomes basically silent and immobile and becomes like a non-character almost. And so that whole arc, especially with her fate at the end of the movie, feels she was only there because she started the movie or she got the plot into gear. So that part doesn't really work for me. And I do find it's a small thing. I do find the score to be really overbearing. Mm-hmm. But again, that's kind of partly because of the time it came out. That was just the way it was. So, I mean, I can get past that. But otherwise, I think the rest of the cast is very good. I like the dynamic between the main guy and the husband. I think that works really well. And what's interesting is because, you know, the main character, what's his name? Is it Ben? Yeah. So Ben, the main actor who's kind of supervising everything in the house, you know, he's saying, no, we should stay in the house. You know, there's, you know, many ways out, all of that. And, you know, trying to be very practical. But then the husband is wanting to go into the cellar, wants everybody to go into the cellar, but there's only one way out. So it's like, you know, these two different options. And I like how in the end, both options kind of work and they also kind of don't. Yeah. And so like the husband wasn't totally wrong. He was in some ways, but also Ben, the main guy, was also wrong in some ways, you know? And so I like how it kind of comes back in a circle in that way. So yeah, overall, I like it. I don't love it as some might, but I still enjoy it a fair bit.
No, and I definitely get that. I agree with you about Barbara. Yeah. She is easily the worst. I honestly completely... I had completely forgotten about Barbara. Like, the thing that I really remembered from this movie was Ben, the dad. You know, I remembered all of that stuff way more than I remembered Barbara. I even remember her sort of malcontent brother. Yeah. More than I remembered dear Barbara. And you're right. It's kind of, you know, a total waste. She's there in the beginning. She should have been almost at that point one of the first one killed, you know, like she got the narrative going and then she hands it off nicely to others who were more interesting, because pretty much after Ben just pops off and just punches the ever-loving hell out of her, which, like, she had it coming. She needed to be hit before then, to be honest. Someone just needed to like smack her a little bit and be like, pull it together. Yeah. You know, like that scene of the woman who's hysterical in Airplane. Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Where, you know, everyone's just lining up to hit the woman who just can't get it together.
George Romero really missed
an opportunity. Yeah. Yeah. So she's a pretty worthless character. I really enjoy Ben. You know, the next most useless character is probably the young guy's girlfriend. Right. Who decides to come out in the middle of the whole thing. So no, there are definitely, you know, some plotting issues, you know, in terms of just like, you know, how certain characters' journeys play out that definitely do really hold the film back quite a lot. I think the movie was made on like $100,000 or something like that. And so I think that's probably one of the reasons that it ended up being a black and white, is just because color at that time was still so expensive. But I think that it really works for the film more than being a hindrance for it. I'm trying to think. The one thing that I really enjoy is that, you know, you were talking about the cellar versus the upstairs narrative. You essentially have two characters who are, you know, contrasting ideologies of essentially like, you know, collectivist sort of approach, you know, to kind of stay alive. And we see this a lot in zombie stories, right? Someone who wants to be a collectivist, who wants to, you know, sort of do what's for the common good and thinks that you should go out of your way to help other people and things like that, versus a guy who's a bit of an isolationist, who's, you know, me and my own, you know, close yourself away. If you're not sure that it's worth the risk, then why should you do it? Right. And I think that's actually always a very topical theme. And I think that's what makes this movie weirdly timeless, is that some of their themes and ideals are so iconic and so ingrained in culture that a lot of the themes carry on and allow the movie to sort of transcend further than it would have normally.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. No, I think all that stuff works. I think that one thing, talking about my criticism of the score, so they're locked in this house or boarded up. I think that I would have really enjoyed if there had been more silence in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just them, boarding the house up, not even talking, just kind of moving around, because that would kind of make you think, okay, are the zombies outside? Are they coming in? And like, it would give you a little bit more ambiguity and mystery there.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like that, the score, it's constantly like, hey, I'm here, and it never really goes away. And so I found that kind of a bit of a hindrance. Now, in terms of the actual zombies themselves, I think it was great. I think the sequence towards the end of them trying to go get the gasoline is amazing. I love it. And really reminded me of the second season of The Walking Dead, the finale of that. And I think all of that's really well done. And I think especially for the time where the zombies are eating the guy and the woman as well, I think is pretty impressive, for the time period. And I think even now it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
So
when we were watching it, especially all cleaned up and shiny and new looking, like right after the scene, I looked at my wife and I was like, I don't know what they were eating, but it looked disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue what these people were actually consuming, but it looked awful.
Yeah.
So no, they do really, and I think that they use that high contrast to also really help their makeup be as simple as possible, but also as effective as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually see this movie in color.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think like the 80s, he released it, or there is a released version of the movie in color. I think that you can rent it. I also think it's on YouTube, but I don't know if that would get me in trouble. You might be able to find it on YouTube. Who knows? So one thought that I had also while watching it was that I felt very, very much like I was seeing the touchstone movie for Sam Raimi.
Sure.
With the canted angles and the dramatic lighting and the random bits of more sort of handheld stuff,
Very Evil Dead.
It really did have that feeling. And my wife and I were talking about this movie, and there are so many older movies that feel like they're sort of borrowing from the theatrical tradition of, a location or a few locations, where I was watching this movie and I was like, I could convert this into a play.
Yeah.
Probably with pretty minimal effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And now one thing, and I mean, it's kind of like a very typical Henry thing, but I honestly kind of wish that based on the cinematography of the movie and how zombies look in the daylight, I wish it had actually taken place during the day. Because I think that the silhouettes of the people, in the field and all of that looked great. And while, I mean, again, having it be at night is effective in a lot of ways, and I like that. I think that whenever they would cut to daylight shots, I think it looked incredible. And because that's kind of what took my eye from even just seeing stills of the movie. It was those daylight shots. I was like, that is amazing. But obviously, that's not what the movie is, so it's okay.
No, yeah.
Yeah, can't do anything about it.
And I guess getting into, a little bit into, well, not a little bit. It's also from 1968. I don't care about spoilers. That ending for me was still pretty chilling. Ben ends up getting killed by this roving band of law enforcement that are out there with dogs. Which is very evocative of a lot of different imagery related to the civil rights movement and slavery or law enforcement. And they end up seeing him, in this arguably very broad daylight kind of shot. And then they end up killing him. And then you watch through the credits as he's like pulled throughout the house with meat hooks.
Yeah.
Through this series of still images, and then his body's thrown on a pyre. And it's pretty, I don't know if Romero claims that he was not intending to do any of that, but it feels very...
Yeah, I don't know, George.
I think you're fucking with me, George.
Yeah.
It feels way too intensely pointed. And going off of that, this movie is one of the things that helped or was a touchstone for Jordan Peele when he was making Get Out.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think the last scene is pretty effective as well. And you're not really expecting that necessarily. You're expecting him to be like, "Hey, everybody, it's me. I'm okay." And then, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the scene. I really like the scene where the daughter kills the mother with the spade or whatever it is. It is very reminiscent of Psycho in the way that it's shot and edited, which is okay. I mean, I thought it worked well, but I do like how it, again, partly because of the time, it's just kind of cool to see that the quick turn of people when they become zombies, and it feels like something that would have come out yesterday, would have the same kind of thing. And so I think that still holds up really well. There are a few points in the movie that kind of drag for me where they're in the house for a little too long.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, it's a cool movie and it's worth watching it, especially if you like either film history in general or zombie movies, just to see where a lot of things came from.
No, for sure. I think that, it's one of those movies that'll clarify a lot for you. And is also just a good watch. There are much worse ways to sort of spend. It's like an hour and 36 minutes.
Yeah.
No, I think that it's a pretty smartly done movie. He used his budget really, really effectively. He used what he had very intelligently, very much also like John Carpenter did with like the first Halloween movie and stuff like that. Yeah. And this is also why horror is a genre that so many people who are would-be filmmakers go to, early on, is because it's actually much more effective than you would realize on a certain level to have less of a budget than more of one.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's pretty good. The zombies are a little bit mighty crafty and intelligent with how they use tools and things like that.
Yeah, like they're able to like sabotage a car and all that stuff. So and pick up things to hit the doors with. Oh, yeah,
actually, break the window open.
Yeah, all that stuff. I can see why a lot of zombie films since have kind of lost that. You're either like a Walking Dead kind of zombie, or you're a super zombie where it is, kind of more warranted. I love talking about Romero's effects. I love the scene where the guy is hacking at the zombie's hand with a knife.
Yeah.
And you see the fingers coming off. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Anything else, Paul, about Romero in general? What's your favorite of his?
Sadly, I think that I got to say Dawn of the Dead. It is probably his most seminal work. What about you?
Probably that too. Yeah.
He's done great stuff, and even some of his movies have gone on and been remade decently well. Dawn of the Dead's a pretty good remake. The Crazies, even though it doesn't do anything like all that elevating to the medium, is a pretty solid remake. Mm-hmm. It's got Timothy Olyphant in it, so there are worse things.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I was going to say was that the reason that the news broadcasts feel so great and like grounded and real is because they were done in part with local Pittsburgh newsmen. And so like one of those guys is a legitimate old like TV radio announcer. And so that's why it has that level of authenticity. And that's also why I think they were able to get the actual like KOV helicopter for the end of the movie.
Wow. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Out of 5 stars, Paul?
Honestly, I'll go solid 4.
Same here. Yeah. All right. I guess we can move on. I don't really have much news. Paul, anything come to mind for you?
No, I felt like there was something, but now I've lost it.
Yeah, well.
It's been kind of a slow news week, I guess,
Yeah. So, cool. We'll skip that. We'll save that for next week. But we do have a question sent to us from a listener. So the Film Buds podcast at gmail.com is where you can reach us at. Also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Film Buds and at thefilmbuds.com. And all that stuff is in the show notes if you need it. any clarification. And so if you're a new listener, or if you've been listening for a while, just send us a question, a hello, comment, anything like that. Anything you'd like to see more of, less of. So we'd like hearing from you. This one came to us on Twitter from Gets Tonsils Out. There you go.
Are they a dentist or like some sort of oral surgeon of some kind?
Didn't specify.
Okay.
Yeah. They'll have to let us know. And they say, Cruella seems to have the makings of a hit. But yet again, it's just another unnecessary origin story for a character that didn't really need one. Parentheses, I braved the theater this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah. Now fans are wanting an origin movie for the Little Mermaid's Ursula character. Is this continuing trend in Hollywood permanent? Or do you think that there's something that can be done? Thanks for the dynamite show each week. Hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Out. Yeah, so Cruella, I guess it came out
Friday,
yeah. And I think it's doing fairly well. And yeah, I did see a post that people are wanting an origin movie for Ursula from The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Paul, you're very anti this kind of movie, I think, a lot of the time. So
yeah, no, that's a fair sentiment. Just because I think Gets Tonsils Out sort of hit it on the head. You know, you have to ask an essential question, which is, if you're going to reboot, rehash, do something with it, you know, what is it that you hope to achieve with it? Not, you know, oh, well, we just want to restore the IP and make some money and it's a quick thing, you know. How are you hoping to, what do you like about this thing? What are you hoping to elevate from it? What are you hoping to remove from it? You know, I think that too often people just sort of go and do it to refresh it. And so that way it's always in someone's brain. You know, it never really gets down to this sort of quintessential thing of, what's this movie about? How do I take that and retell that?
Mm.
So I originally, when like Maleficent came out, Cruella was announced pretty shortly thereafter. And I was more interested in the notion of a whole bunch of live action Disney remakes if they were going to be like very villain centric stories. But the problem is, obviously, they ended up just doing a whole bunch of live action remakes. And also, they kind of have the same problem that Han Solo has, the Solo movie, which is, I know who you are. Did this movie actually make you that? You know, I know where I met you. Did this story leave you at the doorstep of who I knew when I first met you?
Right.
And I think that very few of these stories do that either, you know, and the problem is that's because it has to be a story downward, you know, for some of these characters. Han starts as a scoundrel and has to become like a good guy again. Cruella is a villain, you know, a horrid villain, you know. You look at Ursula, you know, villain, obvious villain. So the problem is also, you would have to then commit to doing a series of movies that were about characters on a downward trajectory. And no offense to Bob Chapek or Bob Iger, but neither of those were going to be people that were going to, you know, allow Disney to go down that path.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why in like Maleficent 2, stupid.
Film.
She's now fighting an eviler witch. Like, fuck off, you know? So unfortunately, they're here to stay. Sadly, even the guy that's recently taken over Pixar, his name is going to come to me in just a little while. He was talking about whether or not we were going to get sequels to a whole bunch of Pixar films, whether or not they really needed it or not. And he was like, oh, well, sequels and reboots and rehashes are just part of the money making model, Pete Docter. And
oh yeah,
so it's baked in, especially at the House of Mouse.
Sure.
And again, unless Bob Chapek has some surprises for me, I wouldn't expect anything else to change anytime soon with it. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's well said. Took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like with Cruella, it's for me, it's a really case by case basis. I didn't need this movie. I haven't seen it, but I do dig some of the designs in it. But even so, I'm like, okay, there could be another movie made instead of this, you know, and the one that would have more purpose. And I think, as you were saying, in terms of characters becoming, doesn't make sense for the character in these origin movies to then become the ones that we know in the originals. And like that's really, a good point. And also like with Solo, the Han Solo film, I don't see how anyone could like rationally come up to Bob Iger or whoever and say like, we need to know how Han Solo got here. Because the thing is, with him especially, we know who he is. He's an archetype. Mm-hmm. He's a broad, anti-hero rebel in a way. And mm-hmm. we know that. I mean, a 5-year-old could see that, and that's the point, And so that movie really serves, I mean, there are moments in it, but it doesn't really serve a purpose. And in this, again, I haven't seen Cruella yet, but it feels like the same thing. It's just that at least in that case, they're kind of going a little crazy and indulgent with the designs and everything. But
for sure. But Cruella, I think, also as a character, especially when you go back even to the live action adaptation of 101 Dalmatians that we already had. So one, this is even almost a leftover of leftover, but also that movie, I think, in particular, is where they are leaning into this ultra high fashion icon, grandiose visuals, is because they've also already done that before on a certain level. Not to like denigrate any of the design of this movie, but I'm sure that a lot of those people were probably really inspired by those older movies, by mm-hmm. the Glenn Close Cruella. Mm-hmm. So, I think that it's even harder, I think, for me to, especially now that I've really put a little bit more thought into it, justify this movie existing, especially since we've already had a live action adaptation of it. It was an animated film with like some sequels, then 2 live action adaptations, where in the second one, they even turn up the dial on Cruella. You know what I mean? She's even more of a focal point in the second one because Glenn Close like stole that whole movie.
Right.
So no, it's hard to find places to take stories after a certain point.
Yeah. But and Paul, now getting back to the question here, can something be done?
No.
Or are we lost?
We're lost. Can something be done? Yeah. I mean, people could probably stop going.
Yeah. Sorry, get your tonsils out. You blew it.
not to come down too hard on you. I've given money to movies that I don't want to give money to.
Sold your soul.
So it's one of those things that happens. I saw the Twilight movies in theaters, nice. Not because I wanted to, because someone that I know wanted to, and I dragged that person around to things that they don't want to see. Because that's what love is, making people watch things that they don't want to.
Pretty much.
Because it will make you happy.
Yeah.
So, I think that it is a phase. At some point it will start to trickle off and die. But also part of the problem is again tied up in content culture, where it's like, we need something, just bring back whatever. Because my wife and I were talking just the other day about rehash, reboot, late sequel culture, things like that, with stuff like Fuller House and
right.
things like this, and how so many of those sitcoms premises never really actually allowed themselves to come back. And so we were talking about a show that did have, I think, like an allowance to come back, which was that 70s show. I thought you could have done it, that 90s show where you brought them back and they were the parents and it was the younger generation, because the whole thing was about, sort of riffing on a generational thing. It would have been the right time gap for them to then be sort of the parents' age. But that nothing can be done about it right now, because also people just don't give a shit. People don't care about the movies the way that they used to. And that's also just a fact. So until someone starts to care, and it's going to have to also be top down, the thing is, we do have some power as consumers to go and change things, but we would then have to rally in a big, big way. Since I don't think people are going to rally in a big, big way for movies of all things, it's just going to have to come from inside the apparatus, or something is going to have to come along and disrupt again in a way like Netflix did, but then not end up just becoming, whatever the fuck Netflix is now.
I have total faith in that happening, Paul.
So essentially, we're just going to have to ride it out. Is it eventually going to pop? Yeah, probably. At a certain point, you can't tell me the same story a third time in my lifetime.
Sure they can.
Yeah. So,
well, Paul, you must be excited for the Gossip Girl reboot coming soon.
No, I mean, I like the writers of Gossip Girl, the original series. They were also the people that wrote Chuck.
Oh yeah,
and I don't think a lot of people realize that show started out as parody. Whether it ended as parody, I think, is up for debate. So, of course it's coming. Why not? We got a 90210 reboot. I think the OC is coming back.
Frasier.
Everyone listen to me. Frasier is coming back.
Look, I love Frasier, but for the love of God, please don't bring it back. I love Frasier to death, but please, no.
No. 30 Rock, bring that back before you bring back Frasier. Bring back Community before you bring back Frasier.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, it is too bad. I mean, but of course I'm part of the problem as well. I keep on seeing a lot of these things, as do many. But only human here. I wish it were different.
Yeah. It's tough, and I guess the thing is, like, I'm not even against them doing it. I just need them to do it better.
Yeah.
I'd love to go and watch a dozen great fucking Disney remakes as long as they were actually great.
Yeah.
I need them to be better.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it well. Otherwise, get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah. They need to do more Nutcracker in the Four Realms. More like that. At least not a masterpiece.
At least they were doing something kind of different.
More like Keira Knightley-esque characters.
Yeah.
So
let's take weird bites, Yeah. Let's get a little bit more out there if we're going to do something with it. And that thing went all the way back to what the source material was and tried to like weirdly combine sort of two disparate versions of it into one thing. Did it work? But that's definitely on a taste basis.
Yeah.
Some did, some didn't. But no, I agree. If you're going to do it, just do it well. And you can be like, well, they're trying their best. No. No, they're not. Because objectively, the difference, right? And a lot of people are like, there's no such thing as an objectively good movie or an objectively bad one. There is a difference between a movie that was made with intent and a movie that wasn't.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, looking at Star Wars, there's a difference between, Empire Strikes Back and Solo.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying that you can't even prefer Solo, but as someone who knows the rules of the art form, because we have to remember this is an art form and it has rules, right?
Yeah.
They're not hard and fast, but there are structural rules. It's like any art. You can tell the difference. You can feel the difference. You can see the difference. I'm not saying that you don't prefer Solo over Empire, but I'm also just saying, as someone, who has looked at films enough and looked at art enough, you can tell the difference between art and a product.
Yeah. And now also in terms of being able to like see the difference, it like, an example, it's a sequel. It's not a reboot or something, but Blade Runner 2049 is amazing. And someone could, to me at least, someone could argue to me that Blade Runner 2049 is better than the original, and they could be justified. But also vice versa. And that's a very rare thing, but I think people were kind of blown away that the sequel, 30 years later or whatever, was really good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's because it was a movie that had something on its mind. Mm-hmm. And because Denis Villeneuve is a committed craftsman who knows the rules and what he can and can't do and what rules to break and what rules not to break. Jurassic Park breaks some rules, but it knows what rules to never break. And that's why Jurassic Park is a piece of art that is also an incredible, entertaining crowd pleaser that has stood the test of time, whereas Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom should have been fucking burned.
Yeah, it should have. It is brutal.
Awful.
Yeah. Yeah, everything. I mean, we'll have to review it at some point, but everything is like a callback to another movie.
The whole
thing.
Movie. We could do a bonus show of all of them.
Yeah, like have some respect for yourself,
Oh, golly.
Yeah. And yeah. So it's a complicated situation. Tonsils out.
Yeah, there's no quick answer, and that's the sad truth,
Yeah. Anything else about this, Paul?
No, I guess, if you really feel that strongly about it, then try and inform the people around you, and maybe try and find a way to be a vocal consumer. If you want something to change, squeaky wheel gets the oil. If you don't believe me, look at Rise of Skywalker backtracking on Last Jedi. So you just have to be the loudest wheel.
Yeah. Well said. So, all right. Thanks again for the question. Tonsils out. So again, the Film Buds podcast at gmail.com is where you can reach us at, and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Film Buds. So follow us there if you haven't, and you can find out more information on the podcast at thefilmbuds.com, and rate the show if you haven't yet. And thank you to those who have. Always like reading what people have to say. All right. I guess, Paul, unless you have anything else, I guess we can end off with some picks of the week.
Yeah, sure. What the hell have I watched lately? Yeah, I just honestly suddenly had like a question of like, what have I watched lately? I've been in like such a haze of writing. That I'm okay. I've got a list right here.
All righty.
So what have you been watching?
Actually, I have a big handful of things that I'll just kind of burn through. Do you want to go first, or shall I just try and go through them?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So keep up pace, everybody. I rewatched Alien Covenant, which I still enjoy a fair bit. It's by no means as good as Prometheus, but I still like it for a lot of reasons. Ridley Scott's sci-fi aesthetic is amazing. I love the look of Prometheus, especially. I mean, this movie, not as good looking, but there's something about his eye for science fiction that I think is great. Then rewatched Men in Black, the original, and it's, still a classic as it always was. Love the whole cast, love the concept, incredibly funny, and still holds up very well. Rewatched Transformers Age of Extinction, which is the fourth Transformers film, and there's not really a rational way to review that film. It's it's objectively, no, it's not very good, but when I was rewatching it in some form, I enjoyed it. It's offensively, it's offensively long, but there are some sequences, especially towards the end, in terms of action, that are fantastic action sequences. As much as people hate on Michael Bay, there are some scenes in there with scale, the chaos, the cinematography that are pretty amazing, and even the talking about the special effects. So not a masterpiece, but it's so ridiculous that it is enjoyable to see how much money was put into that movie.
That's solidly one for me that goes to the place of being bad enough that I find it worth watching.
Yeah. So that was that was nice to see, and I've kind of been dabbling with some of the other films in the series, but just bits and pieces. Then I rewatched Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith, which I think is okay. There are parts of it I enjoy. Hayden Christensen is brutal in it. It's just the biggest issue with that movie, and really the whole prequel trilogy, is that I just find them really boring. You know, it's so long, and I really like Anakin's arc, but everything else around it is not so good.
Yeah.
Then I rewatched MacGruber, which is one of the most underrated comedies, in my opinion. It's hysterical with Will Forte and Kristen Wiig. Amazing. Check it out if you have not seen it yet. Then I watched The Accountant for the first time, starring Ben. Did you ever see that, Paul?
I saw that at the now closed, may it rest in peace, ArcLight theaters out in LA. Yeah, I saw it at the ArcLight that was attached to the Cinerama Dome.
Nice. And this is has Ben Affleck, and he's this like almost unnaturally intelligent person, but he struggles with social situations, and he kind of keeps to himself, but he works as an accountant, and it turns out that helps to cook the books for a lot of different like cartels and assassins, people like that. And it's all about that kind of unraveling, and it's very kind of Jason Bourne-esque in style. And I thought I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It's got some issues, but I thought it was at least somewhat different. One thing though, I love John Bernthal. He is such, I love him as just a great character actor. And so I think he's very good in this.
Yeah.
Then I rewatched Anchorman 2, the supersized version, which is 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And there are parts of it that are funny, but it is just so extended and just too long. It's okay to have on in the background, like look up every 10, 15 minutes, but sitting there and watching it and nothing else is going on, it's pretty grueling. And then lastly, I rewatched iRobot, which I think is amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
So that's it for me, I think.
That's one of my favorite Alan Tudyk performances for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Alan Tudyk is one of my favorite actors, and I really wish that you saw more of him. But he's wonderfully visible and invisible all at the same time. Yeah. You know, when I get a great Alan Tudyk performance, you know, am I aware that he's there? Sure, but it's just because he's given a great performance.
Have you seen Death at a Funeral?
Yeah, love him in that.
Oh,
Do you mean which one?
The first one.
Okay, the good one. You can say it.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Yeah, I adore him in that movie. I think that movie is hilariously funny.
It's great.
That's one of my favorites. That's a British comedy that manages to transcend, I think, just being a British comedy.
Yeah.
No, that was some pretty good picks.
Thanks. What about you?
Honestly, again, I haven't really been watching all that much. I've been watching a little bit of Samurai Jack in the background while I was doing some writing. I haven't really engaged in like anything new because a lot of the time I was just honestly focused on doing that. And I didn't want to watch something that was going to be distracting. Nature documentaries, some stuff like that. There's some pretty good ones on Disney Plus. There's a great one about whales. So as far as movies go, the only movies that I've seen since sort of Army of the Dead and stuff like that, and one of the last times that we recorded is my wife and I did Captain America Civil War. Nice. So I can't remember what it's up against in the bracket. I think it is sadly up against... Oh, it's up against Spider-Man Homecoming. So it's probably going to move on. We did watch Spider-Man Homecoming as well, actually, and I really enjoy that one. I think that movie has some issues for sure. The further I get with that movie, and the more times I watch it, I'm not sure how I feel about the MJ reveal at the end. I think that it's more interesting in concept than it is in full execution. And then I'm not sure where exactly that character goes in a certain sense in the next one. Like, I know that she's still there, but also she doesn't quite feel the same. And I think that it would have been a more impactful and easier move if they had just made the main love interest of the movie MJ.
Right.
You know, and then it could have been the issue of, you know, which happens all the time in the Spider-Man comics, of someone in Peter's life blames Spider-Man for something. You know, and we could have applied that to MJ, and I think that could have worked.
Oh, one thing. I do like Homecoming a lot, but I always kind of am torn because I think in Far From Home, Jake Gyllenhaal is so good in that film that I feel like I would almost is like my favorite, I think, a lot of the time over Homecoming, just because of how much I love Jake Gyllenhaal in that film.
I get that. For me, I think, and maybe I'll have a different opinion when I watch Far From Home next, but for me, I really enjoy the journey toward Peter realizing that what he actually needs to do is enjoy being a teenager a little bit. You know, and that, yeah, it's good to be aware and it's good to be involved and it's good to want to help people. But you also have to keep sort of perspective, you know, on a certain level. And you know, it's a move toward responsibility in the sense of like knowing that you're young and accepting some of what comes with that. And I think it's a really good movie. And that's and then also on top of that, a Goofy movie.
Nice.
The 95 Goofy movie, which is a sort of a musical. There are a few musical numbers in it. And I really enjoy that movie. It's cute. I think it holds up. I think it's sweet. Is it maybe a little bit longer than it should be on a certain level? Yeah, you know, we could probably trim it a little bit. I mean, it's not like a long movie, but there are maybe a few moments that are a little draggier than they should be. But for the most part, it's a charming, lovely, enjoyable movie that I still remember fondly and still works for me when I go back and watch it again.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Well, anything else, Paul, about anything?
No, I don't really think so. I keep on telling people that I'll tell them more about the script once it's done. I will tell you this: there is a vampire minotaur in it. Oh, that'll make more sense later.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the honor of reading the treatment, and there's some pretty crazy characters. And so it's going to be something. So
the second act really takes a deviation from what you read.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I guess that is about it for the show this week. Sadly, now next week, Paul, I had mentioned to you because of Memorial Day about potentially picking a couple military films for next week, but I mean, obviously, I'm not set on that. Is there something that is catching your eye?
No, I think that sounds like a good option for next week. Just out of curiosity, what's the oldest movie that we have an official review on? Because I was like, 68's pretty far back there.
We have reviewed Psycho.
Okay.
So I think way back when. And so I believe that's the oldest.
Okay.
There might be one more. But yeah, I believe Psycho is the oldest so far.
Okay. Let's do the war thing next time, military movie next time. And then at some point, I think that it would be fun for us to figure out something to do where we go, far, far back.
Oh, yeah. I would love that.
Yeah.
And let's see. We have reviewed Dr. Strangelove. That was 64. Yeah, so Psycho. Yeah, that should be it. But yeah, no, that'd be awesome. There are a lot of, even just talking about like silent movies, there are a lot of cool ones that would be good to talk about. And yeah, so that'd be awesome. So yeah, we'll fill you in, later in the week on social media about what we're picking. I guess we'll do at least a couple. And so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, well, I mean, Paul, as always, thanks for taking the time. best of luck again with the rest of the script. I hope it all goes well.
Yeah, thank you. Again, it should be, honestly, by the next time we record, it really should be for reals this time, guys. Done.
Nice. All right, everybody. Well, yeah, we hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and we'll see you next time.